Welcome to the Spark Creativity Teacher Podcast, a podcast for English teachers in search of creative teaching strategies delivered in the amount of time it takes to enjoy a walk around your neighborhood or put up a new classroom bulletin board. I'm Betsy Potash, and I'm glad to welcome you to episode 21, all about the best websites out there for English teachers. Finding great resources online is the best. In today's episode, I'm going to share my very favorite go-tos for classroom lessons, resources, and strategies. More than most, this episode cries out for a visit to the show notes. Listen for the websites you want to check out, and then head over to www.nowsparkcreativity.com and click on the podcast tab at the top of the page. When you visit episode 21, you'll find all these websites described and linked for you for easy access. I remember years ago listening to everyone around me argue about how best to use the internet, the latest apps to benefit students, what platforms we could be using as teachers, and thinking the real benefit to all this is that teachers can now find thousands of ideas online to improve their teaching. Right from the beginning, teachers were getting on and sharing their ideas, their strategies, their lessons. And that, I think, is really one of the most powerful things about the internet age for teachers. Now, much as I've always loved browsing the pedagogy section at the library and the professional development section at Barnes & Noble, books about teaching help me improve my long-term skills, but not really my lesson plans. I am always looking for something amazing for tomorrow, for next week. And those big books that I bring home about the way the brain differs in boys and girls and new strategies for differentiated education based on the latest research. These are great books, don't get me wrong, but they don't really light up my classroom anytime soon. So today I'm going to take you through a little tour of the best online that I've discovered since I started teaching 14 years ago. Another day, maybe I will tell you about my very favorite pedagogy books. Okay, the first site I want to share with you today is called teachwriting.org. This is a relatively new site that was started last spring by a group of teachers, and I happen to be one of them. It has been a joy to collaborate with all these teachers from across the country in sharing amazing ideas for teaching writing in the classroom. So whether you're trying to design a writer's workshop, start an English maker space, if you just need a fun writing assignment or a prompt idea, if you're looking for pre-writing ideas or revision strategies, teachwriting.org comes out with a different theme every month, and then all these different teacher authors write up their favorite ideas, their favorite strategies, and usually include a downloadable lesson plan or freebie of some kind that teachers can start using in their classroom right away. The other thing I like that teachwriting.org is doing is that on their Facebook page, every single day, they're posting a writing prompt. So if you like to do writing activities with your students and you're always looking for a new writing prompt, you can actually get a free one with an image embedded in it every single day and just put it up, projected in your classroom, and let students write based on the writing prompt. And they range a lot. There are imaginative ones, there are ones calling out for interesting fiction writing, for analytical writing. I think you're going to find a lot to love if you go check out their Facebook page. And of course, I'll link the site and the Facebook page with the daily writing prompts on the show notes for today. The next website I want to share is the Penguin Putnam Teacher's Guides. Now, clearly Penguin Putnam is putting these out to try to encourage you to buy Penguin Putnam books, but it actually doesn't matter at all whether or not you have. If you have one of the titles that Penguin Putnam has published a teacher's guide on, then you can get free curriculum gold on the Penguin Putnam Teacher's Guides page. They have over 100 classic titles listed there. You click on the title of the book that you're teaching, and you're going to be taken to like a 20-page curriculum guide. It has summaries of all the reading sections. It has discussion questions. It has extension activities, writing prompts, and fun projects. I love these guides. I've used them for a number of books that I've taught, and I just couldn't recommend them more. What I usually do before I'm going to teach a book that's on their list is I just go through and I highlight little chunks from the guide that I would like to use. So a writing prompt here, a project idea there, a lesson plan, piece of inspiration there, and then I just kind of pencil them in throughout my calendar. And I remember that I'm going to go back to the guide and create like a full lesson plan or a full worksheet based on the inspiration in the guide. So you should go and check out their list of titles and see if any of them match up with what you're teaching, because it's just all this great free inspiration. The next website has recently gone through a redesign, and it's now called tolerance.org, and it's an amazing site for lesson plans dealing with kind of modern issues and media issues that students are facing. So here you're going to find lessons that you can download with titles like Analyzing Gender Stereotypes in the Media or Analyzing How Words Communicate Bias. So if you're looking for some lessons having to do with the kinds of issues students are facing in the world, maybe things to do with the Black Lives Matter movement or Take a Knee, or if you're having issues of bullying in your classroom or in your school, issues between groups of students that you'd like to help them work out in class, I think tolerance.org is a pretty amazing resource and definitely worth checking out. They've gone through a complete redesign, like I said, and their website is looking fantastic. The next website is called readwritethink.org, and this is a pretty amazing warehouse of lesson plans. Readwritethink.org pays teachers to come up with lessons that are based on certain standards for teaching. And so, in my opinion, the website can come off as just being a little bit clunky because there's so much information surrounding each lesson. So instead of just saying like what the lesson is, there's just all this information about the research that it's based on and the standards that it teaches to. And so sometimes you can kind of lose what you're looking for. But if you can cut through that, there are thousands of lesson plans and all these interesting graphic organizers and online tools there. So you need to spend about 10 minutes figuring out how to search readwritethink.org and getting a feel for what's there. And then as soon as you do, you'll realize that probably once a week, or at least a couple times a month, you could be using a beautiful lesson plan that's already been created for you with all the worksheets and all the links and different online tools that readwritethink.org has paid to produce completely free. So a couple of examples, like there's a lesson called All's Well That Sells Well, a creative introduction to Shakespeare. So if you're teaching any Shakespeare this year, you could check that out. There's one, Analyzing the Purpose and Meaning of Political Cartoons, that you could use as a standalone for a substitute teacher, or going into a political book like Animal Farm or 1984. And that's just the very tip of the iceberg. As soon as you start searching, you're going to see there's just a gold mine of lessons at readwritethink.org. All right, the next one is very near and dear to my heart, probably because it is my website, Spark Creativity. You can find it at www.nowsparkcreativity.com. And I write my website for the creative English teacher, and I know that that is what you are. So every week I'm trying to come up with a post that is going to help you be a better teacher and enjoy the profession more. So some posts that I've really enjoyed writing lately are Escape Rooms, the ultimate guide for English class, and creative project ideas for ELA, best websites for ELA teachers, holiday reads, great books for English teachers to read over Christmas vacation. I'm always looking for new ideas, and I'm always coming up with things for the goal of making your life better. So I encourage you to check out my own website, Spark Creativity. The next website I'm going to recommend is We Are Teachers. You've probably seen this around, especially if you're on Facebook. A lot of teachers share We Are Teachers posts on Facebook. This site is kind of like being at a happy hour with a bunch of fun teachers and just talking about the profession. This is a really great place to go if you just kind of feel like event moment. You want to laugh, you want to hear a few ideas, you also want to make fun of some things that are bothering you, and feel like you're part of a big community that's experiencing the same thing. My favorite place to go on We Are Teachers is the Classroom Ideas Archives, and that's what I'm going to link on the show notes today. This is the best place to go for articles to inspire your teaching. And as fun as it is to see like gift guides for your coworkers and funny memes that describe the parent-teacher experience, and I do think that's fun every now and then, what I'm really looking for online are great ideas to inspire teaching. And so inside the Classroom Ideas Archives, you're going to find things like articles about sketch notes, or articles about preventing fake reading, or articles about how to teach political novels, just all kinds of interesting articles relating to the actual work of the classroom and how to bring it up to the next level. All right, we have 2 left. The second to last one is called PBS Education. So if you've ever enjoyed anything put out by PBS, and you probably have, like Downton Abbey or The Great British Baking Show, you should know that they do much more than just produce great TV. They also have a wonderful website full of educational resources. Long ago, when I first started teaching, I was teaching Huck Finn, and I found this digital scrapbook they had put together for Mark Twain. That was just an amazing resource for me to take my students through. And so since then, I've kept my eye on PBS. And at this point, they have a huge section of free high school English resources that's well worth a look to see if it matches up with anything that you're teaching. And they also have a section on their site called the PBS Teachers Lounge. And they've got that subtitled Ideas to Teach Boldly. And I know that's what I want to do, and I bet that's what you want to do too. So that can also be worth a look when you're interested in some professional development. You can pop into the PBS Teachers Lounge. All right, last but certainly not least, there's the internet giant YouTube. I'm sure you've watched a million videos on YouTube, but if you're like me, you didn't realize, maybe until right now, that it has a ton of educational resources too. I'm actually about to publish a big post on my website of my favorite YouTube channels for teachers, so watch out for that. But just to give you a little warm up, some of my favorite things on there. There's a man named John Spencer who's trying to make the world a more creative place, one teacher at a time. And he's got a channel called The Creative Classroom that I love, that just has all these wonderful ideas and strategies for teachers, fun writing prompts for students, makerspace challenges for students, just wonderful resources put together in like a fun, cute, short way, which is usually what we're looking for the classroom. I also love what Khan Academy is doing on YouTube, and they're most known for math, but they actually have an extensive channel with grammar videos too. They have a grammar playlist that you should definitely check out. If you're finding that some of your students are repeating the same grammar issues year after year, you can direct them to the grammar playlist when those issues come up. Instead of teaching grammar lessons in isolation, you can sort of be flagging things in papers and saying, hey, go check out the Khan Academy grammar playlist video number 12 or grammar playlist video number 24, so that the student can just solve their problem right then and there with somebody else's awesome video. But that's exactly the kind of thing that you're going to find on YouTube. It's just all these wonderful playlists made by teachers or made by curriculum designers or put out by the New York Times or other big media sites that are really useful for the classroom. So if you haven't done any digging on YouTube, dig around a little, check out John Spencer, check out Khan Academy, and stay tuned to nowsparkcreativity.com because I'm going to put out this huge YouTube roundup, as I just mentioned. So there we have it. That's the list. Teachwriting.org, the Penguin Putnam Teachers Guides, Tolerance.org, ReadWriteThink.org, NowSparkCreativity.com, We Are Teachers, PBS Education, and YouTube. These are all amazing websites for you to check out, and I really hope you'll find some resources that you will be excited about sharing with your students. Thanks for tuning in. Remember that to find today's show notes, just head to www.nowsparkcreativity.com and click on the podcast tab at the top of the page. My next show will be an interview with Bryn Allison from The Literary Maven about her favorite 10 books for hooking readers. So be sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes so you won't miss it. The Spark Creativity Teacher Podcast is a proud member of the Education Podcast Network. The Education Podcast Network, podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. For more podcast recommendations, visit edupodcastnetwork.com.